Hi, Hufflepuff Hollis here. I thought as a little bit of a throwback, I would do a movie review of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This is probably one of my favorite movies in the entire series. Not because it was like the best movie, but because it was the most magical. It's the most nostalgic. It's just pure magic and happiness. So, spoiler review, I don't know why. If you haven't seen it, who are you? But anyways, so what I like most about this movie is that it's Harry's introduction into the magical world. It's his first time at Hogwarts, and if you really think about it, it's kind of like our first experience too, because typically you start with you start with Sorcerer's Stone when you're introduced to the Potter universe. And it's his first time and it's also our first time because we're experiencing this world through his eyes. Like, this is through Harry's point of view. So, he's all fascinated looking around like, "Oh my gosh, this is beautiful." And I don't know if I hope I'm not alone in this, but I'm sitting on the couch like crying like, "Yeah, I agree, Harry. This is beautiful." Even when I'm reading the book, it's just it just feels so real. You're jumping into this universe with this kid that's also never been into the wizarding world. So it's like you're standing side by side with him. And that just jumps into how relatable the characters are, but that's like a whole other thing. um so the movie starts off, it's so mysterious, with Dumbledore and McGonagall. One of the most I don't know, say what you want about Dumbledore, but I think he's one of the most coolest. You can't deny he's got style, right? And then McGonagall, she's a Bamf. And then you see Hagrid. So right off the bat, you see the most important people, in my opinion. And it's just how ominous that scene is, really. When you put him down on the step, you kind of have the idea that he's about to have a miserable life because he's with these horrible muggles. And Dumbledore's like, "Good luck, Harry Potter." Not just good luck, for your horrible childhood that you're about to have, but just good luck in general for when you do come in. It's going to be a wild ride. He's right off the bat, he's guaranteed a non-typical life. So, the first movie begins, he's the boy under the stairs that we all know and love. And then he receives his letter. I'm not going to summarize the whole movie, but I really like that sequence, of him finding out, because if you're someone that's never, if you're like brand new and you're sitting here like, "Oh my gosh, these letters, what's going on?" You're just as confused as the people in the movie. So I really think that's really done well. I really love the scene where Hagrid comes in. I think that's just that scene was just so well done. I mean, you're a wizard, Harry. Like, how I I don't know what to say about that scene, just because it's just, it just excites me. Um, I really love Diagon Alley. Oh my gosh, I think when I went to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Universal Studios Orlando, when I walked through the entry to Diagon Alley, I was just like Harry. I walked in, I was like, "Oh my gosh," because it's one of my favorite locations in the series, and it's his first real experience, proper experience, I guess, to into the magical world. I really love Ollivander's scene. I think it's also really mysterious because there's a lot of hints that is dropped. If you know the whole story, then you can see this, but there are a lot of things that are just kind of like hinted at right off the bat, about that Harry has this bigger destiny than he knows, and that he's special, that he's not just a regular kid. Even though he's a wizard, he's not just a regular wizard boy. There's something more. And like, I just love how that scene handles it. And also just the wand. I mean, that just, I know it's really lame, like that scene where he holds the wand, it's like, it's like really dramatic. I know that scene's kind of lame, but it still works. Like, I always get goosebumps when I see that. I don't know why. It's just so good. And then I really love the scene. I love the whole movie. I'm just gonna say, you know, the introduction to Ron and Hermione, you know, it's not right off the bat that they're best friends, but, well, at least not with Hermione, but with Ron, you know, bam, that's, I really think that the friendship between Harry and Ron is really something special. Not just to Harry, because this is his first real friend, and this is his introduction to, like his first friend is a pureblood. So Ron is like his access to all information about the wizarding world. I definitely like Hermione, how she's comes in and she's just like, you know it all and whatnot. But we see over the course of the film how, you know, she just kind of develops into a really good friend and very humble wizard, whatever. The moment when we first see Hogwarts is probably the most beautiful scene in this whole movie, other than the shot of Hogwarts in the snow during Christmas, because Hogwarts is just such a beautiful place, and I think you spend like over half an hour of the first part of the movie, you know, talking about Hogwarts, like, oh, you're going to Hogwarts, you're a wizard, so you're going to Hogwarts, you take the Hogwarts Express, which, beautiful scene as well, when you see the train for the first time. You know, it's just, like, the build-up, and then you finally see Hogwarts for the first time, and all the 11-year-olds are like, oh, and I am like, like crying again, hysterically. When you walk into the Great Hall, or when Harry walks into the Great Hall, like, everyone's like all fascinated with the ceiling, and like all the students, all the professors are there, and it's just a beautiful scene. And Harry's sorting in particular, I think, is a very iconic scene, and I always enjoy watching that part. Professor Snape, say what you want about the character, but Alan Rickman is so good as Professor Snape, and his first scene I think is also really iconic. Like, I enjoy it every time. Like, yeah, he's a bully, but he's so savage, and I love it. And that you get that from his very first scene. I love Snape so much. Another good scene is the Quidditch match. This is like I think this is the only full Quidditch match in the entire film series that we get to see. And you know, every time I watch it, I just wish that they did more with this. Like, I just want an anime with about Quidditch through the ages, just so that we can see it, because you know, Quidditch is the sport. It's the best sport in the world, so you can't go wrong with it. But I really like it. I think it was really good. I'm always hyped. I'm a Hufflepuff, of course, obviously, but I always love cheering for Gryffindor. You know, go Gryffindor, and seeing the Slytherins just be totally defeated. It's just nice. It's just nice, and it's you know, I think this is like the first time that Harry is, you know, people are freaking out about him, not because he's the boy who lived, but because he just won his first Quidditch match. So I think that's a really nice moment. I love the Christmas sequence. I think that was really nice. You know, Harry waking up and he's like, oh, I got presents, and it's just, your heart melts for him. It's just like, oh my gosh, this kid has had literally nothing his entire life, and he's basically having his first Christmas with his best friend, who they love each other very much. But what I love most about this part of the movie is the Mirror of Erised. I think when he walks in there and he sees his parents for the first time, I'm getting chills just talking about it. It really emphasizes the overall theme of loss and love that is carried throughout the entire series. And I think this is really the first scene where we get a sense of these feelings of loss and love. And I think it's beautifully written in the books, and it's also really well done in the movies. I know in the books it was like his whole family, but I think this is one of those things where the movie improved on. I think with it just being his mom and dad, I think is better than like his ancestors or whatever that in the first book. So I think this is definitely something that the movie actually improved on rather than ruined, as most movies do that are based off of books. But this was so beautiful, and the music was just simple and heartwarming. I loved it. I love the scene where Dumbledore, says one of my favorite quotes from him, where he says, "It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live." I think that was a very powerful statement, and I love that scene. I love this movie. The final action sequence is pretty cool. These meddlesome kids get through. I can't really appreciate the plot twist that it was Quirrell all this time, just because I can't remember a time that I didn't know that, because I grew up watching this movie. I think I was like 3 when the movie came out, and my mom was a Harry Potter fan, so I think it was Quirrell this entire time thing was never really a surprise to me. But I can see for a newcomer that's just like, what? And just the whole thing, just thinking about it, I guess for someone that's totally unfamiliar with the story, like, to see the 2 heads, okay, that's pretty crazy. I can imagine a first timer just sitting there like, what is going on? I think even now, I've seen it a million times and I can recite all the lines. Even now, I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, with the 2, you never see anything like that again either. Like, is this something that happens often, or is this just like a weird magical mistake? Like, did Voldemort want to do it like this? Like, I don't get it. I thought it was pretty cool how Harry defeated him with his bare hands. That's also something that I don't think happens again, and is never really. Yeah, it's talked about, I guess, but it's just, that's interesting. I'm wondering if that's like an aspect that they'll bring into the Fantastic Beasts series, because that's just something that we've only seen once, and it's kind of explained, but not fully. It's really weird. I love the scene between Harry and Dumbledore in the hospital wing, where Dumbledore's explaining why this all happened, why Quirrell couldn't touch him and whatever, and he's talking about how he's talking about how it was love that saved him. Like, love was the overall powering magic that saved Harry and still protects him to that day. And I think it's a wonderful scene, and it also hints at what love magic, I guess you can call it. It really hints of how important the love magic is. And it's still a big mystery. This whole love thing is still a big mystery. I think Harry uses it again. At least in the books, he's like, in Deathly Hallows Part 2, or like at the end of Deathly Hallows, he's like, I sacrificed myself for everybody, so my love has protected them. So, that sort of thing. So, like, this comes up again. And then, of course, there's that whole thing in the future where, like, Harry's blood is where the love is being carried. So that was that whole thing in Goblet of Fire. But it's the love is very mysterious, and I'm not talking, you know what I mean, like, in the context of the Harry Potter series, love is very mysterious, and I kind of want to know more, but I think if it just stays a mystery, that would be, I guess I'd be fine with that. But it just interests me, that whole concept of love being more powerful than anything. It's the one thing that Voldemort overestimated, and I think that's really important in the series. The House Cup ceremony, so rad. You see memes about it all the time, like, oh, Harry, you destroyed the world. 100 points to Gryffindor. Gryffindor wins the House Cup. But I have to say that every time, all the points are added and Dumbledore goes and the banners go from green to red and everyone's like, yeah, throwing their hats in the air like, yeah, we did it. I was softy for that scene. I'm like, yeah. Even though Hufflepuff, I think, was 4th place after that, well, we always take one for the team, I guess you could say. um, I love, I love the scene. I love Neville's little bit. It takes a great deal more to stand up, great deal more bravery to stand up to your friends. That just kind of hinted that Neville is not just that awkward, scaredy cat of a kid. There's more to him than we see, and we just get a little tidbit of that. And I don't think we see more until, a few movies down the line, but great introduction to Neville Longbottom. You can see all great heroes have small beginnings, and I think that's another theme in the series, is that all these big heroes have small beginnings. J.K. Rowling herself had a small beginning, so I think I just thought of that. I literally just thought of that just now, that might be another theme, so I'm gonna think about that after I make this video. And then of course the final scene where Hagrid gives the little scrapbook to Harry, and the music, the end of the year music is playing, and Harry's all like really happy. He's like, man, I just spent my first year at Hogwarts. Hagrid, I love him to death. And I'm sitting here bawling my eyes out like, oh my god, this is what it's all about. That final scene, like, it's not the real magic. Like, like the spells, silly incantations, and foolish wand waving that's magical about this universe. It's the connection between the characters that I think is the most magical aspect of the series. And I think this final scene of Sorcerer's Stone is really what drives that message home. I don't think this scene was in the books, so this was another scene that the movies, I think, did better, because I love that scene to death. And then that whole thing where, Hermione's like, oh, strange to be going home, isn't it? And then Harry's like, I'm not going home, not really. And then they pan out and you see the landscape and you see Hogwarts. One last second, I'm sitting crying again. And then the credits roll, and then I sit there for 8 minutes singing along to the credits. So yeah, I feel like I described the entire movie. I don't think that was my intention, but this is one of my favorite movies. I loved everything about it. I watch it every year on September 1st, Back to Hogwarts Day. This is the movie that I watch. So, yeah, that was my review. I'd probably give it a 10 out of 10 because it's just fine. Let me know what you like about it down below. I don't care. I don't think anyone's watching this video anyways, so, but yeah, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Bye, I guess.